Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! The morning sun filtered through dusty blinds, casting stripes of light across a cluttered bedroom. Clothes were strewn about, pizza boxes stacked haphazardly on the desk, and amid the chaos, a figure stirred beneath rumpled sheets. Alex groaned, rubbing sleep-crusted eyes as consciousness crept in. Another day, another battle with the persistent feeling of wrongness that had plagued him for as long as he could remember. He swung his legs over the side of the bed, bare feet hitting cold floorboards. "Come on, man, get it together," he muttered, running fingers through shaggy brown hair. The mirror across the room beckoned, and Alex approached with reluctance. The reflection staring back was familiar, yet somehow foreign angular jaw, broad shoulders, the beginnings of stubble shadowing his chin. A heavy sigh escaped as he turned away, unable to face the image any longer. It wasn't that Alex hated his body, exactly. It just felt wrong. Like wearing a suit 3 sizes too big, or shoes on the wrong feet. He'd tried to ignore it for years, burying the feelings under layers of forced masculinity and societal expectations. But lately, the cracks in that facade were widening. Alex's phone buzzed, jolting him from introspection. A text from his best friend, Sam.
"Yo, dude, we still on for beers tonight?"
His thumb hovered over the screen. The thought of another night pretending to be one of the guys, downing pints and talking sports, made his stomach churn. But canceling again would raise questions he wasn't ready to answer.
"Yeah, man. See you at 8.
He typed back, hitting send before he could change his mind. With a resigned sigh, Alex shuffled to the bathroom. The routine was familiar. Shower, shave, style hair into something approximating presentable. But today, each action felt like dragging lead weights. He stared at the razor, hesitating. What if... The thought slipped in unbidden. What if he didn't shave? What if he let his hair grow out, just a little? What if he... Alex shook his head sharply, banishing the dangerous train of thought. He couldn't. He shouldn't. It wasn't normal. But the seed had been planted, and as he went through the motions of his day, work, errands, gym, it refused to be silenced. By the time evening rolled around, Alex's nerves were frayed to breaking point. The bar was crowded, music thumping and conversation a dull roar. Sam waved from a corner booth, already nursing a beer. Alex plastered on a smile and made his way over, dodging elbows and tipsy patrons. "There he is!" Sam grinned, clapping Alex on the shoulder. "Thought you might bail again." Alex winced internally at the he, but forced a chuckle. "Nah, man, wouldn't miss it." They fell into familiar patterns, talking about work, complaining about dating woes, debating the merits of various sports teams. But Alex felt disconnected, like an actor reading lines from a script. His laughter sounded hollow to his own ears.
"You okay, bro?"
Sam asked during a lull.
"You seem, I don't know, off."
Alex took a long pull of his beer, buying time. The words he'd been holding back for so long bubbled dangerously close to the surface. He could feel them pressing against his teeth, desperate to be spoken. He started, then faltered. How could he possibly explain? "I just haven't been feeling like myself lately." Sam's brow furrowed with concern. "What do you mean? You sick or something?" Alex shook his head, struggling to find the right words.
"No, not sick. Just different. Like I'm not..."
He gestured vaguely at himself, frustration mounting.
"Not what?"
Sam prompted gently. The dam broke.
"Not this,"
Alex said, voice barely above a whisper.
"Not a guy."
The words hung in the air between them, impossible to take back. Alex's heart hammered in his chest as he waited for Sam's reaction. Disgust? Anger? Laughter? Instead, Sam's expression softened. He leaned in, speaking low to be heard over the noise of the bar. "How long have you felt this way?" The unexpected compassion in his friend's voice nearly undid Alex completely. He blinked rapidly, fighting back tears. "Always, I think. But I've been trying so hard to ignore it, to be what everyone expects me to be. I can't do it anymore, Sam. I'm suffocating." Sam nodded slowly, processing. "So, you think you might be trans?" Alex finished, the word both terrifying and liberating. "I think I'm transgender. A woman." Saying it out loud for the first time sent a shock through Alex's system. It felt right in a way nothing else ever had, like puzzle pieces finally clicking into place. Sam was quiet for a long moment, then reached across the table to squeeze Alex's hand. "Thank you for trusting me with this. That must have been really hard to say." Relief washed over Alex in a dizzying wave. He hadn't realized how much tension he'd been carrying until it began to dissipate.
You're okay with it?"
"Of course I am," Sam said firmly. "You're my best friend. That doesn't change just because you're figuring yourself out. I've got your back, no matter what." Tears spilled over then, and Alex wiped them away hastily.
"I don't know what to do now,"
he admitted. "I've been hiding for so long, I don't even know where to start." Sam considered this. "Well, what do you want? If you could wave a magic wand and change anything, what would it be?" The question opened a floodgate of long-suppressed desires. I want to grow my hair out, wear different clothes, use different pronouns. Maybe even change my name." Saying it out loud was simultaneously thrilling and terrifying. It made everything feel more real, more possible. "Okay," Sam nodded. "Those all sound like good places to start." "Have you thought about talking to a therapist, someone who specializes in gender identity stuff?" Alex shook his head. "I wouldn't even know how to find one." "I can help with that," Sam offered. "My cousin came out as non-binary a few years back. I bet they'd know some resources." The conversation continued late into the night, plans and possibilities unfolding. For the first time in years, Alex felt a glimmer of hope. The road ahead would be challenging, but no longer seemed insurmountable. As they left the bar, Sam pulled Alex into a tight hug. "I'm proud of you," he said. "And I'm here for whatever you need, okay?" Alex nodded, throat tight with emotion. "Thank you," he whispered. That night, alone in bed, Alex allowed herself to truly imagine a different future for the first time. She, and using that pronoun, even just in her head, sent a thrill through her. Pictured long hair framing a softer face, curves where there were now angles. It wasn't a perfect image, still hazy around the edges, but it felt more like home than anything else ever had. The next few weeks passed in a whirlwind of change. Alex started seeing a therapist specializing in gender identity, began growing out her hair, and slowly built a new wardrobe. She came out to her parents, a difficult, emotional conversation that left everyone raw but ultimately brought them closer. Work presented its own set of challenges. HR was supportive, implementing new policies to ease her transition in the workplace. But not all of Alex's co-workers were as understanding. Whispers followed her through the halls, and more than once she caught people staring or giggling behind her back. "Just ignore them," Sam advised over lunch one day. "They'll get used to it eventually." Alex poked at her salad, appetite gone. "I know, it's just exhausting, having to justify my existence every single day." Sam reached across the table, squeezing her hand. "I can't imagine how hard this is. But you're doing it, Alex. You're living your truth. That takes incredible strength, She managed a small smile. Thanks. I don't know what I'd do without you. As the months passed, Alex's outward appearance began to match her inner self more closely. Hormone therapy softened her features and redistributed her body fat. She mastered the art of makeup, reveling in the transformative power of a well-applied contour. Her new name, Alexis, felt more natural with each passing day. But the journey was far from smooth. There were days when dysphoria hit hard, leaving her curled up in bed, unable to face the world. Navigating dating as a trans woman proved to be a minefield of potential rejection, and though many friends and family members were supportive, others drifted away, unable or unwilling to accept her transition. One particularly difficult day found Alexis sitting on a park bench, tears threatening to ruin her carefully applied mascara. A little girl ran past, pigtails bouncing, and Alexis felt a pang of grief for the childhood she never got to have. Is this seat taken? Alexis looked up to see an older woman smiling down at her. She shook her head, scooting over to make room. The woman sat, smoothing her skirt. I hope you don't mind me saying, but you look like you could use a friendly ear. Is everything all right, dear? Something in the woman's kind eyes broke through Alexis's defenses. Before she knew it, she was pouring out her story. The years of feeling trapped in the wrong body, the joy and terror of finally embracing her true self, the constant struggle for acceptance. The woman listened without judgment, nodding occasionally. When Alexis finished, spent and raw, the woman reached out and patted her hand. My dear girl, she said softly, what an incredible journey you're on. It takes tremendous courage to be true to yourself in a world that often doesn't understand. Alexis blinked in surprise. You don't think I'm a freak? The woman's eyes crinkled with a gentle smile. Not at all. I think you're a brave young woman figuring out who she is, and from where I'm sitting, you're doing a marvelous job. They talked for nearly an hour, the woman sharing stories from her own life, the challenges she'd faced as a young woman in a male-dominated field, her late in life coming out as a lesbian. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the park, the woman stood to leave. Thank you, Alexis said, meaning it with every fiber of her being. I really needed this today. The woman's eyes twinkled. We all need a little kindness sometimes, dear. You keep your chin up. The world is slowly changing, and there are more people out there who will see you for the beautiful soul you are than you might think. As Alexis watched the woman walk away, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. The road ahead would still be difficult, full of obstacles and setbacks, but she was no longer that lost, confused person staring into the mirror with despair. She was Alexis. Daughter, friend, woman. And she was finally, truly herself. With a deep breath, she stood, smoothed her skirt, and walked towards home with her head held high. Alexis's steps felt lighter as she made her way home from the park. The conversation with the kind stranger had lifted a weight she hadn't realized she'd been carrying. As she walked, she found herself noticing little details she'd overlooked before, the way the setting sun painted the sky in vibrant hues, the laughter of children playing in a nearby yard, the gentle rustle of leaves in the breeze. When she reached her apartment, she paused before entering, taking a deep breath. The space inside had been a sanctuary during the early days of her transition, but lately it had started to feel confining. Maybe it was time for a change. Alexis unlocked the door and stepped inside, flicking on the lights. Her gaze swept over the familiar surroundings, the mismatched furniture, the walls still bare save for a few hastily tacked-up posters. It didn't feel like her anymore. It felt like him, the person she used to be. With sudden determination, Alexis grabbed a notepad and pen. She began to sketch out ideas for redecorating, letting her imagination run wild. Soft, warm colors to replace the stark white walls. Flowing curtains instead of the utilitarian blinds. Plants, lots of plants, to bring life into the space. As she worked, her phone buzzed with an incoming text. It was Sam. "Hey, how you holding up? Want to grab coffee tomorrow?" Alexis smiled, warmth blooming in her chest at her friend's consistent support. "Actually," she typed back, "I could use your help with something. How do you feel about painting?" The next day dawned bright and clear. Alexis woke early, excitement thrumming through her veins. She'd spent half the night researching color schemes and interior design tips, and she couldn't wait to get started. A knock at the door announced Sam's arrival. He entered laden with supplies, rollers, trays, drop cloths, and cans of paint in the colors Alexis had chosen. "Whoa," Sam said, taking in the apartment. Alexis had already pushed all the furniture to the center of the room and taped off the edges. "You're not messing around, huh?" Alexis grinned, tying her hair back in a messy bun. "Go big or go home, right?" They set to work, Sam tackling the living room while Alexis started on the bedroom. As she rolled the first stripe of soft lavender onto the wall, Alexis felt a surge of emotion. It was more than just paint. It was a declaration, a statement that this space, this life, was truly hers. "So," Sam called from the other room, "how have you been doing? Really?" Alexis paused, considering. "Better," she said finally. "It's still hard sometimes, but I'm getting there. Yesterday was rough, but then I had this amazing conversation with a stranger in the park. It reminded me why I'm doing all this." "That's great, Lex," Sam said, popping his head around the doorframe. His face was smeared with pale blue paint. "I'm glad you're finding your footing." They worked steadily through the morning, chatting and laughing. By early afternoon, the apartment was transformed. The harsh white walls were gone, replaced by soothing tones that made the whole space feel warmer, more inviting. Alexis stood in the center of the living room, turning slowly to take it all in. "It's perfect," she breathed. Sam came to stand beside her, slinging an arm around her shoulders. "It looks amazing, just like you." Alexis leaned into the embrace, grateful beyond words for her friend's unwavering support. "Thanks, Sam, for everything." As they cleaned up, Sam cleared his throat awkwardly. "So, there's something I wanted to talk to you about." Alexis looked up from where she was washing paintbrushes in the sink. "Oh? What's up?" Sam fidgeted with a rag, not meeting her eyes. I've been seeing someone. It's still new, but I really like her." "Sam, that's fantastic!" Alexis exclaimed. But then she caught the nervous tension in his posture.
"Isn't it?"
He nodded quickly. "Yeah, it is. It's just, she doesn't know about you. About our history, I mean. And I wasn't sure how to bring it up." Alexis felt a pang in her chest. Of course this would come up eventually. She and Sam had dated briefly in college, before she'd come out. It felt like a lifetime ago. "Oh," she said softly. "I see." Sam rushed to explain. "I don't want to hide anything from her, but I also don't want to out you without your permission, and I wasn't sure if you'd be comfortable with me telling her about before." Alexis dried her hands slowly, gathering her thoughts. "I appreciate you asking," she said finally. "It means a lot that you're thinking about my privacy. But Sam, I'm not ashamed of who I am or where I've come from. If you want to tell her, you can. Just maybe let me know when you do, in case she has questions or anything." Relief washed over Sam's face. "Of course. Thank you, Lex.
You're the best.
As Sam left that evening, Alexis found herself alone in her newly painted apartment. The space felt different, brighter, more open, but it also highlighted the emptiness. For the first time in months, Alexis allowed herself to think about dating. The idea was terrifying. She'd avoided it thus far, focusing on her transition and building her new life. But now, surrounded by the physical manifestation of her growth, she felt a stirring of longing, not just for romance, but for connection, for someone to share this journey with. With trembling fingers, Alexis downloaded a dating app. She stared at the blank profile for long minutes, cursor blinking in the About Me section. How could she possibly sum up everything she was, everything she'd been through, in a few short sentences? Finally, she began to type. "Hi, I'm Alexis. I'm a woman who loves art, nature, and terrible puns. I'm also transgender and still figuring out this whole being myself thing. But I'm excited for whatever comes next. Want to grab coffee and see where this goes?" Her finger hovered over the Create Profile button. It was a small step, but it felt monumental. Taking a deep breath, Alexis pressed down. The profile went live with a cheerful ping. "Well," she said to the empty room, "here goes nothing."
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!